welcome right here to another episode on TBOU on the couch. I'm the Javian.
And this is your girl, TIA.
Yes, yes. Thanksgiving. This is Thanksgiving where everyone sit down at the table and eat.
That's right. And be thankful for what you have.
Exactly, exactly. You have
As long as you got life, health, good health,
good health.
and strength,
Exactly. But all the
you're good.
food that everybody eats, and I know it's good food, and sweet potato pie, collard greens, everything else, candy yams, and
Oh,
the whole
my
nine
gosh.
yards, TIA.
Yes.
But here on our show on TBOU on Couch, she's going to talk about our heart,
Right.
and you got to be careful of congesting a lot of food and everything else. And
A
what's the
lot of
good
the
food?
wrong food.
Yeah, that's true. And also for the good food that's for your heart. So no other, and we're gonna keep him rating. We have Mr. Philip Doctor Ovadia right here on TBO on the couch. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to be here on the couch with you. Really excited for this conversation.
Yes.
And I'm hoping, maybe for just this week, we can change up TBOU a little bit and we can make it about the best of us instead of the brand of us.
All right.
And hopefully, what we can talk about is how people can be the best of us, the
hmm
best of each of them, not only through the holidays, but every day of their life, what they can do to be doing the best things for their heart and for their health.
Yes. Okay. All right. So, so since tell the listen viewers out there how long you been a heart surgeon.
Sure thing. I have been a heart surgeon now for 20 years. I
Okay.
have done over 3,000 heart surgeries. And what I have learned during that time is no matter how good a surgeon I may be, no matter how good all of the heart surgeons out there are, you're always better off if you don't need heart surgery in the first place.
Okay.
And, I have been gradually focusing on helping people how not to need heart surgery,
Okay.
how to stay off of my operating table. Because, as I said, you're always better off if you don't need the heart surgery in the first place, if you don't develop heart disease in the first place. And it turns out that heart disease, which is the number one killer in the
Yes.
United States and worldwide, is a largely preventable disease. And most of that prevention comes down to what you're eating
hmm
and some of your other lifestyle habits that we'll talk about.
Well, since Thanksgiving is here, I mean everything is the week for Thanksgiving, and again, like we say earlier in the show, everybody's around the round table. So, what types of food is good for your heart?
Yeah, so it turns out that the types of food that are bad for your heart are not necessarily, what we have heard. Most of us, for our entire lives, have heard that, in order to prevent heart disease,
hmm
the best, the foods that you should be eating are low fat foods, that you should be avoiding fat. You should be specifically avoiding saturated fat, which
Yes.
oftentimes is, attributed to meat and animal products.
hmm
But it turns out that the worst foods for our heart are processed foods. Um, and really, what we should be eating to best protect our heart health is whole, real food. And
Yes.
I always explain to people what that means is you should eat the things that grow in the ground,
hmm
and you should eat the things that grow in the ground. So you want to eat your animal products, you
Okay.
want to eat some plant products, and you want to eat them as close to their natural form as possible. We want minimally processed foods. If it comes in a bag, if it comes in a box, you shouldn't be eating it. Another rule I give people is if your grandparents and your great grandparents weren't eating it, you shouldn't be eating it either.
Okay. So you say saturated fats. So we need to stay away from saturated fats Well, no, saturated fats are good fats, right? But then trans fat is a
Exactly.
bad fat.
Yes. Yeah. So we have been told our entire lives that saturated fat is bad for us. It turns out that that is really not true. There is no good scientific evidence to support that.
Okay.
And, they meaning the American Heart Association, the US Dietary Guidelines, which initially were the ones that, um, you know, pushed this messaging that saturated fat is bad for us, they have backed off of that. And there really is no reason to be avoiding saturated fat that occurs naturally, in meat, in other animal products, in dairy, for instance. You do want to be very careful about consuming trans fats and artificial fats, things like
Okay.
vegetable and seed oils that are highly processed and have only been introduced into our food supply, relatively recently within the past 100 to 150 years.
Yes.
Those are the things that you need to be avoiding.
Okay. Okay. So, I you named some of the oils. So, what's some of the good oils out there that we could use on our food? I know one of them is olive oil.
Uh, yeah, so the good foods that we should be eating, I think first and foremost, we were meant to consume animal products. That is what we evolved on as human beings.
Okay.
So meat of all, varieties, seafood, um, you know, dairy products that come from the animals, again, minimally processed, things like butter and yogurt are great to be eating. And then I think, that we can be eating plant products, simple plant products that haven't been, overly processed. Ideally, these things should be consumed locally. So, what grows in your local area during the seasons that they grow, I think that is all fine to eat. When we're talking about plant products, fruits that have been flown from, all over the world
Vegetables.
to
Yes.
us, and, have been specifically grown and engineered to be higher in sugar. Those are probably things that we need to be staying away from.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so as far as like for the right foods that we're supposed to be eating, what would be the right drinks for us to be drinking? As far as
Yeah.
like
So,
everybody knows that water is good for you. That's the best thing you could drink.
yeah, and you really do want to stick to the basics on that because, anytime you're drinking calories, anytime you're drinking sugar, you really need to limit that. You really need to be careful about that. And
Okay.
and in an ideal world, we wouldn't be drinking any of that. So I really tell people, stick to water mostly. Black coffee, tea, are both fine as well. But when you start getting into, drinking soda and even the diet sodas, that may not have the sugar in them, but they have other artificial processed chemicals in them, you have to be very careful about that. And then, people will say, oh, well, if fruit is good, I can drink fruit juice, orange juice, apple juice, things like this. But realize again, that is a form of processing. And when you take that apple or that orange and you take a whole bunch of them and you squeeze all the juice out of it, and now you've lost all the fiber and other stuff that comes with eating an apple or eating an orange. You're really getting into dangerous territory,
Okay.
and that can also have very negative effects upon your health. So, when it comes to drinking, again, I tell people stick to the basics: water, coffee, tea,
Okay.
things without sugar, and things without calories.
Okay. Well, we could take a short commercial break and be right back right here with the Heart Doctor, Dr. Philip Ovadia, right here on TBOU on the couch.
This has been so
Here we're back right here on TBOU on the couch,
with Dr. Philip Ovadia.
and we're talking about taking care of your heart.
That's right.
That's right, the best of your life. That's
Being
right,
the best you.
the best you right here. I have a question, doctor. I know everybody uses salt when they food. What are the consumptions and the limits that we have to use salt on our on our food because we've added a lot to our food a lot.
That's true, but some people don't use salt.
Yeah, true. It's in other words, it's too much salt cause heart problems too.
Yeah, so again, it comes down to oftentimes the types of salt that you're eating.
Okay.
So too much salt can be a problem for
Mm-hmm.
some people, um, but really, the reason that salt has been associated with poor health is because the majority of the salt in our diets comes in processed foods. And it really probably it's not the salt that's doing the damage there, it's
Okay.
the processed food that's in it. Um, when you are putting salt on your food, again, there's different types of salts.
Sure.
The kind of standard table salt that you're going to get, in most restaurants, and oftentimes you'll buy at home,
Mm-hmm.
is oftentimes very processed. The minerals and have been stripped out of it. It's been chemically altered. And sometimes when you look on that, the bottle of salt that you buy, the package of salt that you buy,
Yes.
you'll see that there are other ingredients besides salt. So that's something to be very careful about. But if you get a good high quality salt,
Mm-hmm.
something like a sea salt,
Okay.
and you're putting that on your food, there is very little evidence that that is in any way damaging to your health. And I personally don't have any problem with people using salt in that form. But you do want to be very careful, again, about getting excess salt
Mm.
in processed foods and using poor quality table salt.
Well, I've heard that some people use the Himalayan salt. Uh, they say that it's better than regular salt.
Oh, sea salt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last question.
I was saying that some people use Himalayan salt,
Yep.
saying that
Yeah, so
it's
Himalayan
better
sea
than
salt.
regular salt.
Yeah, Himalayan sea salts of all kinds are
Mm.
really great salts to be using,
Okay.
and they're much different than, like I said, kind of the standard table salt that you'll oftentimes buy in the supermarket.
For the folks that is a diabetic and um, what pretty much what are the things that they can like? I know they have to change their diet.
Right.
Does the folks that's diabetic 1 or 2 does that have problems with their hearts and everything?
Yes, yes, people do have heart problems that
Yeah,
are diabetic.
diabetes can definitely have a negative impact on your heart, and
Mm-hmm.
diabetes, type 2 diabetes, can oftentimes be reversed, can be improved, certainly, by changing the foods that you were eating.
Okay.
If you have type 2 diabetes,
Mm-hmm.
you really want to eliminate carbohydrates from your diet. and
All
that will
right.
lead to great improvements. And in many people, it leads to reversal. You can get off your medication,
Okay.
and you can greatly improve your health by doing that. Type 1 diabetes is a little bit different. That's not necessarily something that we can reverse and cure, but again, we can greatly improve the management of type 1 diabetes when you eliminate carbohydrates. And I know of many people, and I've worked with a few patients
Okay.
who are type 1 diabetic, and when they lower their carbohydrate intake, they can greatly reduce the amount of insulin, the amount of medication that they need to manage their diabetes.
Can you tell us what to do to strengthen our heart? I know cardio and workout does it, but some people say when you lift too heavy, that could cause problems in your heart the older you get. Is that true?
Yeah. So, the first thing I always tell people about, strengthening your heart is stop damaging your heart in the first place. And that, again, is where the diet comes into play.
Okay.
Once you've done that, exercise in general is a great way to strengthen your heart.
Okay.
I believe that resistance exercise, things like lifting weights or doing body weight exercises like push ups and pull ups, for
Hmm.
instance, should be your priority when it comes to exercise. Because the more that we are able to build muscle, the more that we are able to maintain muscle as we get older, the better our health is. Cardio can be very beneficial as well. The concern about overdoing cardio really shouldn't be a concern for most people.
Hmm.
Yes, there is some data to suggest that if you are doing excessive, cardio, if you're doing, marathons
Yeah.
and beyond, that there might be a point where too much exercise becomes a problem. But for the vast majority of people, their problem is too little activity. It's not too much exercise. So I really tell people, get more active is almost always the answer for you.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, here, let's take another short commercial break, and we'll be right back with more of Dr. Philip
Ovadia.
Ovadia.
Just can't lie anymore. I gotta punch them door, door, door. On the bookkeeper, yeah, I keep the books right. All I do is count money, tell them dummies, say a dummy. Never got my hand dirty, yeah, my fingernails clean. I can get you back for 5 bands in a pair of jeans. Me on the bookkeeper, all I do is count money. Me on the bookkeeper, all I do is count money. Y'all should be happy for me. It's cool. Cause my success is clapping for me. I hear y'all haters asking for me. Now that right there, yeah, that's the glory. No pain, no story, it's the man inside me. They try to tie me, deprive me. Behind greatness, I'm hiding. If being great is so fly, then I guess I'm gliding. No strings attached.
Auction event. It's going down February 25th, starting at 3 p.m. and ending at 10 p.m. Suburban Lodge, 2943 Meeting Street Road, North Charleston, South Carolina, 29405. RSVP at 850-544-3500 and ask for the Javian.
That's right. It's fashion and wine. And we're back right here on TBOU on the couch.
with Dr.
Ovadia,
Ovadia.
yes.
So the question that I wanted to ask Doctor was talking about metabolically having metabolic health. So, and it says 80% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy. Could you speak a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure thing. So we need to realize that metabolic health is at the root cause of most of the chronic diseases that affect us today.
Okay.
So when we look at things like heart disease and we look at many forms of cancer, we Alzheimer's disease, these all share their root cause in poor metabolic health.
Okay.
So people need to understand what metabolic health is, how we can measure it. As you mentioned, the statistics are pretty scary because they show that 88% of the adults in the United States are not in good metabolic health. And in the most basic way that I try to get people to understand metabolic health, it basically means that your body is properly processing the inputs that you are giving it,
Okay.
the food that you are eating primarily. And when you're in good metabolic health, your body is able to properly process all of that. When you are not in good metabolic health, your body is struggling to process the food that you're giving it. And oftentimes it's storing too much of it. It's not able to effectively burn it for energy, and your overall body is not functioning well. So you want to be in good metabolic health. And I believe that focusing on good metabolic health is the best way to prevent all of these chronic diseases that we talk about, like heart disease and cancer and Alzheimer's disease.
Okay. Okay, that's some good information. Also you have a book, sir. You want to share us with your book,
What was that?
the JV?
I didn't hear that last question
Also,
again.
also
Your
you have a
microphones have
book
cut out.
out, correct? Right. So you want to share us with your book and tell people where they get your book. Can you hear me?
Just a little bit.
No, I was saying you also have a
There you go.
book out, and also can you tell the viewers where they can purchase your book?
Yes. So the book is called Stay Off My Operating Table.
Okay.
It's widely available on all the usual platforms,
Mm-hmm.
Amazon and all the other online booksellers. And you can find more about my book and really everything I offer. I have courses and I work with individuals in both the group and the individual setting. And you can find all that information at ifixhearts.com.
iPickshot.com. Okay. So, again, since Thanksgiving, this is the month,
The time to be
and
thankful.
it be time to be thankful. Tell the viewers. Now, my question is: some people say, "Well, hey, I can eat anything," but we should eat everything's in moderation?
Well, I really don't think you should be eating everything in moderation. I think that we should be focused on eating whole real foods, eating protein first. Um, and then, if on special occasions like Thanksgiving, you want to have some of the other stuff, a little bit of the other stuff, that's going to be minimally harmful.
Okay.
But, ultimately, when we think about our everyday lives,
Mm-hmm.
we should be focused on eating whole real food
Okay.
and prioritizing protein, making protein the center of all of our meals. And
Okay.
if you do that, most days of the year, and you want to indulge a little bit, on
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving and Christmas and the
Exactly.
holidays, that's going to be minimally harmful to you.
Okay.
But you got to get the good habits in place first, so that what I see happen way too often is that people say something like, "Oh, I'm going to have a little bit on Thanksgiving, and then oh, then I have the leftovers the next day." and then it's the next week that they're still eating the leftovers and they're
Yes.
eating all the same
Yes.
foods. And now Christmas is coming up, so
Yes, it
they're going from
is.
party to
Yes.
party, and next thing they know, they've gone 3 months that they've been eating all of this processed food all of the time.
That's
So you
right.
really want to get good habits in place. You
Hmm.
want to eat whole real food primarily. You want to eat your protein first. And then, like I said, if every once in a while on a special occasion you
Hmm.
want to indulge in some of the other stuff, that will be minimally damaging, because you've been doing great the whole rest of the time.
Okay. Well, thank you for your information, and it's very informative,
Mhm.
and appreciate it right here letting us interview on TBOU on the couch. We would appreciate it. And hey,
It has been great
yes,
having you here with us, Doctor. Finally getting this interview
yes,
done, and we definitely have to do
do
it
it again.
again.
That's right. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for all the great work you're doing to help people improve their lives.
Appreciate it, appreciate it. And
Thank you.
also, you have a safe Thanksgiving too.
You too. Thank you.
Okay. God bless. Thank you. Well, thank
All
Well, that
right.
was TBOU on the couch, TL.
That's right.
Yes, yes,
Another
was
episode.
Dr. Philip Ovadia right here. And, we're going to go ahead and tell everyone to get your heart in shape.
That's right.
Continue, strengthen your heart, eat right, eat your fruits and vegetables, and you live a longer
Natural.
life.
Eat your natural foods. Things that
Yes,
come from the ground.
yes, exactly, exactly. Thank you. So, hey, thank you for tuning in TBOU on the couch. Check us out Wednesday from 6 to
7:30. From
7:30
7:30 to
to
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Thank you right here. So peace
Love.
and keep viewing right here on TBOU on the couch.